Hello everybody. Today another razor review. This time not from a razor that I own, but a razor that I borrowed from a friend of mine, Chris Stevens from Texas. I'm going to be reviewing the Merkur Futur. Now this is a razor that from the very early days of my being in shaving groups, about 3 years ago, was a very popular razor. It was a razor that people really bragged about. And it was one of the handful of razors that just everybody seemed to have to get. Now granted, this is one of those upper tier razors that I was always prejudiced against. It was, $80 plus. And I always looked at it and I go, well, yeah, it looks kind of chunky. I'd always wondered about the head. The head looked like it just wasn't really good at maneuvering around. And yeah, it's nice that it's adjustable. You can adjust it from 1 to 6. And I thought, nice to have an adjustable. Along with this one was the Progress. I think it's Muley Progress. I can't remember. That's adjustable, that I've always wanted to do, and I've got it lined up to borrow one of those here before too long. But this week I've been shaving with this razor. Now my friend Chris several times warned me, as we were negotiating, and I loaned him a razor, one of my vintage razors that he wanted to shave with, so we exchanged, and he warned me, be careful, changing the blade, be careful adjusting it, you'll get cut. Now see what you take it off, see this little bitty flare? Well, that's how you take it off. You got to pop that up, and then you got to remove it. Well, when you remove it, then the blade just rests in there if you pull it up this way, or you got to turn it over and you pull it up that way. Well, when you have it sitting in there like that, there's nothing to grab onto. Put the blade in there. I don't know if you can see, there's nothing to grab onto except sharp edge. So you got to turn it over and plop it out on something. And same conversely, it's a little bit better when you put the blade, you got to be careful with it. It's a little bit better when you put the blade in there, but there's only 2 little bitty posts that it sits on, that you've got to get it set in there just exactly right. There's just a little bit of exposure. You got to set it in there just right. Long story short, not 5 minutes before I started this video, I was practicing how I was going to show you how this razor worked. I cut my finger. Strike one. It cut me loading the blade. Now I'm going to put where did I put it? There it is. I'm going to put I think this is the 4th shave on it just snaps on. Okay. 4th shaves on a Kai blade. And I'm going to use it on setting 4. Now I just heard this is a very aggressive razor when it's set on 6. And I've also heard a lot of people say, oh, it's a great beginner's razor, because you can get such a good shave on lower settings. Okay. Well, one of the first things, he told me you got to be careful adjusting it because this thing can pop off. Okay, if I adjust it down to 1, there's 1. Okay. If you can see the blade gaps, not too bad. Not too bad on 1. So I started off on 1. Well, when I shaved on 1, not too great a shave as far as dealing with my beard. And it was difficult getting around the nose. So within that one shave, first pass I did setting 1, second pass I did setting 2, third pass I did setting 3. Still with the third pass, my difficult area is it just wasn't aggressive enough. Okay, the next shave, I did it 4. Not bad. Not bad, but not fantastic because it was just kind of in between for me. It wasn't aggressive enough to get to the right spots. And by the time you got to setting 4, let me get back on 4. The blade gap is sort of medium. What I noticed on setting 4 is a lot more audible feedback, but also a lot more blade flex, a lot more blade chatter, a lot more audible feedback. So then on the next shave I did 5. It was even more so. And then on 6. Okay, there's setting 6. I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if you can pick it up. But that is a lot of blade gap. And I don't know if you can tell. That blade moves. It flexes a little bit as it encounters your beard. It's in there firm, but as it encounters your beard, that blade flexes. That's what causes the audible feedback. I'll do a little bit on 6. Get my ladder going just to show you. I've had my soak in using my Plisson synthetic brush. So I tried a full shave on 6. I did. I tried it. And it bit me. It bit me bad. I got one of the worst cuts. I don't know if you can see it. Right there underneath my nose. As I was trying to maneuver that big head underneath my nose, I didn't get the angle just exactly right. And that big flexing blade flexed enough and it gouged me. So that was it for setting 6. I'm not going to try that anymore. And what on setting 6, on that most aggressive level, yeah, it gave a very close shave. Even down underneath, it did near baby butt smooth in those tough spots. But around the curves, the contours, and around the nose, on setting 5 and 6, which would be the settings that I would want for me, they're just too much blade chatter and flex. Now listen to this feedback. Can you hear that? it cuts pretty good. But can you hear that? Like on a single edge gem razor or Everready or something like that, you get a lot of audible feedback, but that blade is in there firm, that blade is thick, and what you're hearing is that cavity within that razor head giving you that audible feedback. With some other razors, they've got hollow handles, and that's how you get that audible feedback. With this razor, it's because that blade in that channel is flexing and causing that audible feedback. Okay, let me get this thing back down to 4. Yeah, I can see in adjusting this thing, if you're just not super careful, you could easily get sliced. Now look up around the lip, like the nose. It's very difficult to maneuver. It's just too cotton picking thick and big. Now see, even on setting 4, there's a lot of audible feedback, which tells me there's a lot of flexing going on with that blade. And granted, a DE blade, it's not bad for it to flex a little bit. I didn't find it, this little notch here, I didn't find it difficult with slipping and sliding around. It is a very, very heavy razor. And just navigating around those curves, for me, after shaving with it now for a week, it's still not coming very, very natural to me, particularly on the setting 4. If I were to dial it down 3, 2, 1, it would be much easier. So, is this a razor that I would recommend for a beginning shaver? I don't want to cuss, but not just no. No. You can fill in the blank. For a beginning shaver, this razor could spell disaster. And particularly if someone has never shaved with any kind of DE razor before. Yeah, it may look futuristic, it may look neat, but in my book, there's a lot of design flaws. And this razor, well, of all the razors next to a straight that I have used, this is the most risky and dangerous razor I've ever experienced. In so many different capacities of the blade change, how it shaves, particularly on those upper 4, 5, 6, And see, up on my upper lip, it's shaving all right on 4, but well, I just opened it up again. But that blade flex, when it encounters a tough whisker on a setting 4, it flexes enough that it's not particularly smooth. And that's what causes a certain level of discomfort. You know, part of the smoothness of a shave with the DE blade comes from the blade itself, that razor's edge, that coating. But also there's an element within the design of the razor itself, how it holds that blade. What kind of blade gap does it have? That determines how smoothly that razor shaves. What metal on that razor has to encounter your face before the blade gets there? And then, you know, how much flex is in that blade when it shaves off the whisker. The more flex, the higher probability of getting a rough shave, regardless of the characteristics of the blade itself. That's why some blades work better in some razors. It's the right combination of the smoothness of the blade and the characteristics of that razor that can either make it super smooth or more on the rough side. You know, like doing that part, there is enough exposure of that blade on setting 4 that if I did not concentrate on that angle, I could easily slice my lip at that curving part pretty bad. That's all I'm going to do. So, Chris, thank you for the loaner. I've wanted to try a Future now going on 3 years. Been curious about it, almost bought it several times. I'm thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't buy it. You can get a good shave. If you're the type of guy that needs the lower settings, it could be an excellent shaver for you. I think kind of for the average guy, there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of risk in this being a good razor for you. So definitely, if you're thinking about buying one of these, try to borrow one from a friend and try it out beforehand. Having tried this razor, I would never buy it. I wouldn't even buy the cheaper knockoff that they've got going on around. That's like, $30 worth. I didn't check out the prices, but I'm sure that they're still in the $70, $80 range. Well-constructed razor. Beginning razor? No. Not in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This would be the very last safety razor that I would recommend for a beginning shaver. Experienced shaver? Yeah, if you tried it beforehand. if you had a test run with it. There's just too many things going against it in my book. And as far as just experienced shavers, I guess I'm an experienced shaver, got cut pretty bad twice, here and here. Neither times under normal shaving circumstances with the vast majority of razors, 95% of all the other razors wouldn't have cut me that way. Granted, carelessness can happen and you can get cut changing a blade, but just the general design of this razor, how you have to take it off, you have to apply pressure to pop it off. That's a risk factor just in and of itself. Now, if you need to unscrew it, that's another factor that adds a level of safety. You've got more control over that. But popping this up and then trying to remove it, you have to do all kinds of manipulation to remove the blade. Big design flaw in just the safety factor. So, could I get a good shave? Like I got a near baby butt smooth shave. Quite frankly, I didn't enjoy it because I had to concentrate too much on what I was doing, and it just wasn't comfortable. The comfortable shaves on the lower settings just wasn't efficient enough. I rank this one even below the R41 as far as comfort. I felt the R41 was a very aggressive, rough razor. This one on 4, 5, 6 ranks below that in my book than the R41. It really kind of makes me sad. I wanted to like this razor. I wanted my initial impressions and my initial prejudices against it and for it in some respects to maybe not be quite so true, but many of my preconceived ideas of just observing and looking and examining this razor proved true, and then beyond, and in the actual experience of using this razor. Got some good things lined up for future. Got some more razor reviews coming. Maybe we'll throw in some product reviews. Don't know. I'm kind of on a razor kick right now to do razor reviews. So until next time, have some good shaves. Work hard at being happy. But definitely be safe. Be safe. Don't use this sucker. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.